It's simple. If you want to get financially ahead of 99% of people in the world, then you have to think like 99% of the people don't. And I know that's a pretty obvious concept, but you often see videos and even books on financial ideas that could potentially change your life. And they pretty much all say the same thing as every other video or book. You know, invest in an index fund, max out your 401k, have a proper budget. There's nothing completely wrong with those things. In fact, most people should definitely just stick to those things. But there are those out there that want a little bit more. They want to look for exponential strategies. I mean, honestly, that's how 1%ers become 1%ers. Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Steve Schwarzman. Do you think these guys really are thinking about maxing out their 401ks? I mean, everybody's pretty much maxing out their 401ks. And there are companies that are out there that will literally match what you put in. I mean, who's not taking that deal? If you look at the 1%ers, and trust me, I have relentlessly studied these people. Most of the time, they're just unconventional in their thinking. If an action is common, i.e. you can literally go to YouTube and find hundreds of videos telling you how to do it, then it's not gonna make you more successful than 99% of people. Because by definition, to be more successful than everybody else, you have to do what everybody else does not do. I'm gonna give you a harsh truth. When it comes to bettering yourself financially or getting exponential results, and trust me, I'm learning these things myself, so it's like talking to myself. The basic advice, maxing out your 401k, save for a rainy day, invest in an index fund, all of these things work, do not get me wrong, but they probably will not get you the results that you're looking for at the speed that you're looking to get. Everything's gonna take time. Listen to me when I say that. But you have to look at the speed to return ratio. To prove my point, let's look at some of the most financially successful people of our time. Let's start with Warren Buffett, who is one of the greatest investors of all time, if not the greatest. Warren Buffett made his first million at 32 years old. It took him 32 years just to make his first million. But he didn't become the billionaire that we know until he was 55. An entire 23 years. Yes, it did take him almost 2.5 decades, but the speed to return ratio was just so exponential that the wait was worth it. Because I'm 30 right now, and if you told me I'd be a billionaire by 53, it would just take 23 years to get there, I'd be extremely comfortable with that. But if you told me that I'd be a millionaire by 53, same 23 years, I'd be okay with that. I mean, who wouldn't? But most of us would still be rolling our eyes and not completely satisfied, because by the time we're 53, millions will probably be the new 200,000. In the first half of this video, I'm actually going to break down what makes the top 1% so financially successful. But before you get all excited, in the second half of the video, I'm actually going to talk about the downsides that come with becoming better financially than most people. Because just like most things in life, it's not super simple. It's actually pretty complicated. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. To actually get financially ahead of 99% of people, you have to, one, be contrarian in your thinking and actually be right, which is super hard. The second thing is you have to understand risk management, not risk as a whole, but risk management. It's a difference, which most people do not understand. And the third thing is secrets. No, this is not some meta, I'm giving you the secrets about secrets. No, this is the power of looking for secrets. And I'm going to share a bonus fourth one, which I think is the overall most important. So stick around to the end so you don't miss it. Let's start with number one, contrarianism, which is basically just challenging conventional beliefs and thinking for yourself. Most people have the hardest time thinking for themselves. So for the most part, they just go with the flow. They go with the most agreed upon information because it's the easiest to confirm. I mean, nobody's going to disagree with that. Hey, you should go to school and get a good job, especially if everyone else around them is doing the same thing. But there is that small portion of people that will think for themselves and come up with new ways to think about money and finances and even just other things, and how not only to outlast the majority, but to beat them as well. Now, are these ideas going to be correct every single time? Probably not, which brings us to number two, risk management. Most contrarian ideas that you're going to have are going to be wrong, like super wrong. Like, really, really wrong, which is the hard part to achieve massive financial success, because not only do you have to disagree with everybody, but you have to be right at the same time, which is why risk management is so important, because there has to be a level of balance to where you're independently thinking, but you're not so far out that it becomes destructive. But the beauty of all of it is, just as Mark Cuban says, you only have to be right once. But the only way to ever have contrarian thoughts about money is the last part. You have to look for secrets. In the words of Peter Thiel, every great invention of our time was once a secret. It's the same as those who were financially successful. They had an edge. They took a chance and executed on a secret that most people just did not know, or they don't know. And that's the piece. The secret is definitely the start, but you have to have enough conviction and courage to act on that secret to get the exponential results. You see, most people tend to focus on the result that the financially successful person got because it's the easiest to observe and easily to replicate. Oh, Warren Buffett invested in the stock market and got rich. I'll invest in the stock market and get rich. This is not terribly wrong thinking, but if you don't look at the full picture, you'll miss the true determining factors. Warren Buffett didn't become Warren Buffett because he invested in the stock market or a group of index funds. Warren Buffett was Warren Buffett because he found a mentor named Benjamin Graham who was coming up with a relatively new investing strategy. And he took hold to it and was hooked. And he would not only buy shares in companies, he would literally outright buy the company or buy majority shares so that he would pretty much have control over the entire company. And this was coming off the back of the Great Depression, so people were still recovering from how bad that actually was. You see, the results, methods, all those sorts of things are pretty overrated. If I can find one secret and be right about it, and it gives me exponential results, the other 99 times that I was wrong don't really matter. But most of the time, people don't want to hear things like that because finding secrets or finding potential hidden strategies is incredibly difficult, especially when we live in a society where it's pretty much accepted that all of the hard things are already solved. So instead, we just, make vague videos about investing in an index fund, picking up a side hustle, eliminating debt. Again, these things are awesome. Do not get me wrong. I am practicing some of those things myself. But as I'm learning, it's much more to it than just that. Look, the methods, the results of how successfully financial people got there, they're just not sufficient. They're a sliver of the whole pie. The hardest part about achieving massive financial success is not going from one to N. Anybody can get a result or see a result and replicate it. The hardest part is questioning what already is, what's already widely accepted as being right. It's the ability to take the hidden path that most people are just too afraid to take, to go out and search for secrets. In the Bible, Proverbs 25:2 says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings to search out a matter." That means that there are more secrets to be found out. God has put them there. And it's an honorable thing for us to find them out. I mean, even looking back at Warren Buffett, most of his huge success is the result of one or two huge investments. Think Coke, Geico, maybe Berkshire Hathaway as well, even though he would go on to say that that was like one of his worst investments. But the rest of his success is just a continuation of those two huge investments. I mean, the man only makes so many investments every few decades. But when he does, he takes huge positions, and it's probably based on a secret or position that he knows that most people just cannot see. See, he likes to call it his inner scoreboard, basically his ability to not play the same game as everybody else and keep up with their scoreboard, but rather focus on his own strategies and ideas. See, the reason that we get so much advice and mixed finance advice is because most financially successful people tend to think that, well, I made it, so I must know the way. And typically when somebody speaks about the way as the only way, it's usually because that's the way that worked for them. So they overestimate the strategy and believe that it's going to work for everyone. Which brings me to the downsides of pursuing getting financially ahead of 99% of people. And these are questions you have to work out within yourself, questions that I have to work out within myself. Remember, we're on this journey together. The first factor is that nobody truly likes the person that goes against the grain. I mean, in our society, we say we like different things, but what we're really saying is that we like things that are foundationally the same as what we're used to, just slightly different. You see, we think that we want a lot of things that we chase because we believe that it'll bring us a level of happiness or validation that we've been seeking for a long time. But in actuality, the opposite truly happens. I mean, think about the rich. Everybody would love to be wealthy, but most people would not be able to endure the backlash that comes with having more than most of the population. Being wealthy in itself is a contrarian thing, and it naturally comes with apprehension. I mean, it's literally in the Bible. Proverbs 13:8 says, "The ransom of a man's life are his riches, but the poor heareth not rebuke." Basically, people will hate you just because you're rich. And we see this all the time. People are always hating the rich. The second thing is that you have to have a high gauge of risk management. The thing about risk is that most people think that it's an either or when it's really a yes and. Most people think that risk is either you take a lot of huge risk or you take no risk at all. That's because they look at it in a problem and solution way when it's not that linear. It's more of a trade-off. It's I'm willing to give up this thing for something else, even though that thing could potentially not work out. And you have to do that consistently. But the thing about it is you have to be right about what you're trading off more times than not. And this is hard, especially when looking for secrets. As Peter Thiel writes in his book 0 to 1, the prospect of being lonely and right is already hard. The prospect of being lonely and wrong is unbearable. The odds that you're going to be wrong in this journey is pretty high, and not just wrong once, but wrong multiple times. Trust me, I'm still trying to get it right. The truth is the pursuit of getting financially ahead is hard, and you have to be abundantly clear about what you want and where you want to go, and establish early what truly matters to you, because the ingredients that actually go into this journey that you're on, that I'm on myself, is acceptance of a lot of hard things and really being able to navigate them. Which leads me to my bonus point, which, as promised, the fourth and ultimate thing that you need is wisdom. The Bible says that wisdom is the principal thing, and with all thy getting, get understanding. In order for all these things that were discussed to tie together, having wisdom is what's going to make the biggest difference, because wisdom actually gives us the ability to apply the knowledge that we have. So you can have a ton of great contrarian ideas. You can know all the secrets. You can know how to risk manage. But without the wisdom to apply them, it's not going to go anywhere. So get wisdom. And if after hearing everything in this video, you're still gung-ho about getting financially ahead, well, you're my kind of person, because we're both on the same journey. See you when we make it.